Welcome back, guys. I'm Zell, and we're doing another Drinking and Thinking with Zell from the shop. And we got construction all around us, so if you hear any odd noises or construction noises, that's what it's from. But you've got 9 seconds to get your drink of choice, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, in sharp news today, we have a story about a Star Trek and a Star Wars fan that got in a fight, and it ended up in a knife wound. Oh my goodness. And they also, over there, visited the ESEE Rowen manufacturing, and just like when they visited Tops, they've got some really cool pictures and a good write-up about visiting the manufacturing plant, and that's just super cool. And from AKTI, they have an article about what to do if you're stopped by the police with a knife. Now, the article is kind of short, but they link to this wonderful video from a lawyer and a police officer about what to do whenever you're stopped by the police. And it's a long video, guys, but I watched all 45, 46 minutes of it whenever I should have been doing other stuff. It is well worth your time, and I suggest you go watch it. It is very, very informative. And from knife news, we have Tops releasing a pre-production Fieldcraft folder. And this is interesting because this is Tops getting a little deeper into the folder game, which I think is brilliant. Tops makes some great fixed blade knives, and I think they have the ability to come with some very use-focused based folders. And I would like to see more of that from them. And here we are, we're seeing a little more. And then we have Kizer bringing out a budget line. And that the story's over at Knife News. And that's always interesting to me, to watch a knife company that's been doing budget stuff trying to move up, or a company that's doing higher end stuff trying to move down. Either way, it's very interesting because you've got to figure out how to maintain your name. You can't let the quality slide too far if you're moving down, and the quality's got to move up, but you can't. It's a big complicated mess. You guys know what I'm talking about. And then, of course, they have the knife gripe from Nick Shabazz. This week, it's tunnel vision. And for videos, we've got Fun with Knives. In association with We Knife Company, he's giving away that 614 that he torture tested last week. He tells me that that knife is flawless still after he beat on it there for several minutes, and 2 videos worth anyhow. And he's stropped her up, and he's going to give it away. So get to that video link down in the description so that you can enter that giveaway as well. And Nick Shabazz gets a look at the Megatherium. That's another Elijah Isham design. Pretty cool knife, and you may want to go and see what Nick has to say about that. And Dr. Frunky has his final diagnosis on the WE 702. That's one of my favorite knives for this year, and I think Dr. Frunky might agree. You'll have to go watch the video to find out. And KME has come out with a axe sharpening system. Works very similarly to their knife sharpening system, and it's kind of cool. If you have some axes that may need a little sharpening, you might want to go check that out. And what I've linked is kind of their instructional video and their demo video of that system. And LuvThemKnives has his review up of the Liong Endevour. And I linked that one up, one, because LuvThemKnives did a good job, and secondly, because I have an Endeavour that's been here since Blade Show that I got directly from Liong, and I have been sitting on it and not getting it reviewed like I should, because other things have come up, and you guys deserve a good review on that Endeavour. It is a great knife. And then, last but not least, Canadian Cutting Edge. Jake is reviewing, and I've got to read this one, guys, the Stedemon ZKC C03. It's a Quaken-style knife from Stedemon. It's on ball bearings. It has a 440C blade, and I have a Stedemon knife that I just got in a few days ago that is great. For the money you're given for these knives, they're running on bearings. They've got pretty smooth actions. I've got a couple of things I'm going to fuss about on them, of course, but for the money, really nice knives, and the 440C is extremely well heat treated. And that's the trick with 440C. We see a lot of companies out there, well, not too many, but some companies out there using 440C, and heat treat on 440C and getting good base stock for your 440C is very important, and it seems that Stedemon has done that. And I don't know if it's different base stock from these other companies or if it's just a different heat treating method, but it is a lot better steel than what we've seen in a lot of the budget 440C knives. And if you've listened this far and you are one of the channels I've mentioned, or a channel I've mentioned in previous, or a channel that would like to be in the Sharp News section of my videos, send me an email. It's down in the description, and I'm going to need who you are, of course, and if you want your logo shown whenever I talk about whatever article or video that you've got up, then send me a graphic, and I'll get it up there whenever I talk about stuff from your channel or your website. And from here, we're going to go to a tabletop view. Today we're talking about method of carry. How many knives do you carry? Where do you carry them? And we'll start with a little bit of my history. Whenever I was a young man, I'm talking, 10, 12 years old, maybe a little earlier, my dad started running a route where 501 Levi's could be purchased from an outlet store at a very, very reasonable price. Made them cheaper than buying the Sears Tough Skins or the Penny's Plain Pockets. Some of you'll know what those are. And that's what we wore. My brother and I and my dad wore 501s because, well, they were cheap. And they were pretty darn good quality jeans. And if you've ever worn 501s or the Wrangler 13NWZs, you know the pockets aren't big. So in my early life, I gravitated towards smaller knives like the Skyline or a Kershaw Leek or a Delica. And it was because I didn't have a lot of pocket room. I gravitated toward those knives, and I always carried one of these. We've heard the story about why I carried these before, and if not, maybe we'll do another video on it at some point. But 58mm Swiss Army knives, usually the SD or the, Rambler, are the ones I carry. I even experimented with all kinds of knives in that size range, and most of them, my opinion, most of them do not stack up to the utility of the actual Swiss Army knife. I always come back to it. But as I went into my 20s, 501 Levi's got ridiculously expensive. Oh my goodness. So I started experimenting with other brands of jeans. And I decided I liked the slightly more relaxed fit, and with that you got larger pockets. And with the larger pockets, well, hey, I could carry a larger knife. So at that point, I started experimenting with larger knives, and I'd carry something like an XM18, or, I've got a Mannix 2 here, bigger knives. And I enjoyed having the bigger knife. But as you know, whenever you get to a bigger knife and you're in the middle of an office and you flip out a blade that looks like that and makes that noise, you have some people that get a little freaky. And, where I live, it's not too bad. Not too many people get freaky. But at this point, I'm carrying a large knife, and I'm carrying a 58mm Swiss Army knife. And if you guys saw on the channel, I went through and I looked at the bugs. And I like the bugs. But to me, the bugs make a very, very good keychain knife. They're not as good for a pocket knife, and it's just because they're singular in their utility and they're too close to the size of the 58mm Swiss Army knife, which I'm going to carry anyhow. So these knives for me end up getting put in places where I may need a knife, like on the motorcycle or in one of the vehicles, things like that. And same thing with the little bird knives. But in going through those, I ended up with a Dragonfly. And the Dragonfly is some magical combination of steel and FRN that gives you full-size knife performance in a small knife. And I carried this thing in my left pocket floating for a long time. And that's another point here. A lot of people carry a left pocket knife. and they carry it clipped to their left pocket, floating in their left pocket, in their back left pocket. I generally carry mine floating in my left pocket. I will carry one if I'm in denim. I'll carry one in my back left pocket, but most of the time it's floating in the front left pocket. That knife can be pretty much anywhere because it's not used for, generally not going to be used for defense. It's going to be used to open letters, cut things for lunch, and that sort of stuff. And it's also going to be used in the office to keep people from freaking out over something like that. So my current method of carry and my favorite way to carry in my day-to-day not at work life is to carry something like your Benchmade 710, your WE 702. We got another WE here we can throw up, 604. Something thin and with a long blade. And the reason for that is these are very good work knives. They get done any task you ask of them. And if I have that box get in my way on my way home, I can shred some cardboard with ease with one of these knives. And that, to me, is rather important to have that ability in my right pocket knife. My left pocket knife, whether it's a floater or in my back pocket, is there to open up envelopes, to take care of lunch, you know, do all those small tasks where I can open the knife, take care of it, and put the knife away without upsetting the natives. You know, whether it's this little guy or whatever. And actually the knife that brought this discussion to light was the AM3 from Kershaw, which is a rather brilliant little knife. I do wish it wasn't speed safe for the purpose that I would like to use it for, because this would make a wonderful left pocket knife. The only thing is you got the speed safe, and depending on the environment, that might cause a problem. Not a big deal for me in most places, but some places having that assisted deployment is going to cause a problem in the office space. And I carried this guy a lot and still do. Why? It's kind of heavy. Even with the Stazza 23 scale on there, it's still 3 ounces for a small knife. But I can roll this guy open and get the work done without freaking anybody out. So that's a beautiful thing. So my question to you is, how do you carry? Are you a 1-knife guy? Are you a 2-knife guy? Or are you a 3-knife guy? Or do you have one in every freaking pocket? You know, whatever. It's all good. I'm just curious. How do you guys carry? You know, I've told you what I do. Anymore, it's usually a thin. If I'm off work, it's usually a thin, long knife in my right hand pocket that doesn't get used very much, and something smaller in my left pocket, generally floating, sometimes in the back pocket, and then of course there's always a 58mm Swiss Army knife in the mix. Now if I'm at work, things get a little different. I'll be carrying something like this, or something like this, or maybe even the Liong Endevour. Something that's a little heftier, can get a little heavier work done, as well as that left pocket knife and my 58mm Swiss Army knife. So from work to not work, what changes is the heavy dutiness, if you will, of the right hand pocket knife. However, the main issue is always there. My right hand pocket knife needs to be a good utility knife, and it also needs to be a knife that I can have confidence in if that nasty box comes around the corner and I need to shred some cardboard to make my way safely home or to wherever I'm going. So how do you guys carry your knives? That's what I'm curious about. Share it in the comments. Maybe we can all learn something from it. And I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a few minutes. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.